Hello and welcome back to my Disney Infinity 3.0 Battle at the Sarlacc Pit series. In this video I will discuss the logic setup for the collectibles which concludes this series. I will demonstrate two options. The first option is for collecting the explosive devices as I previously demonstrated, and the second option is based on a suggestion I received from Professor Toybox to have targets to shoot at instead of collectibles. I will present both options, and if you decide to create your own Sarlacc Pit Battle following my instructional videos, you can decide which option you prefer to use, or you could use a combination of both, or do anything else that you may prefer for your toy box. Option 1 is for collecting the explosive devices. Alright, let's get started by covering the creativity toys we need. I have two action buttons here which we'll use for testing purposes. A collectible tracker, and the properties here I've let at the all the defaults. Show radar, you can choose to turn that on or leave it off like I did. That's really purely up to you. We have a timer here, and I've set the properties on this for a target time of 45 seconds. I've left the visible display on, and the countdown from target time I've also left that on. We're also going to need a trigger area here placed over the center of the Sarlacc Pit. And to demonstrate its exact location here in reference to the slide rail between the skiff and the sail barge, I have Luke here help us out, and he'll shoot the test button here for the slide rails to replay those. And now we have our slide rail there connecting over to the sail barge. And now you can see how this is about centered there, right on that central portion of the slide rail, so that the player, as the player escapes the sail barge down to the skiff, will definitely slide through the center of that. Alright, go ahead and shoot our other test button here, and we'll remove the clear the replayer for the slide rails. Alright, in the gameplay toys, option 1 here is again for the collectible explosive devices, and I'm using this mech device collectible because it looks like it could be a detonator of sorts. And I'm going to show you my approximate placement of these. You don't have to be precise, but I've placed 10 of them since there are 10 random explosions. So I'm going to have to collect 10 of them. And that one's right centered over that point there above the bow. And we have 2 more placed here. And one up top here on the upper part of the stern, next to the AT-AT cannon. So that's 6 up top, and we'll place 4 down here in the front and back corners for a total of 10 collectibles. There's one spot up off the raised off the floor there. And somewhere back here, wherever it fits. Doesn't have to be precise exact to my location. I think in my actual game, I think I was more in that position there than what I ended up placing here. You see, I'm trying to make up my mind where to put them. It's just a couple back here. It doesn't have to be exact. So that's the logic and the collectibles for our first option of setting the detonators. Alright, let's go ahead and start hooking up our logic. So I'm going to use this button to turn everything on. So new logic connection when pressed. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to reset the collectibles to make them appear. Also, new logic connection when pressed. We're going to start the 45-second timer. And then for our reset button, new logic connection when pressed. Let's come over here and remove the collectibles. And we'll also do a new logic connection when pressed. Come to our timer, and we'll select reset for that as well. This way we can test the different options. So new logic connection when pressed, we need to come up to our central trigger area here and deactivate it. Now for our level starter, we don't want the collectibles to be in view, and we don't want that trigger area to be activated either. So we're going to do a new logic connection catalyze. We'll come to our trigger area first and we'll deactivate it. And we'll come back to our level starter. And once again, new logic connection on catalyze. Come around to our collectible tracker and remove all. This way they won't be visible until they're triggered to be visible after we defeat the boss fight. So remove all. Alright, when we defeat Boba Fett, new logic connection, defeated, select Boba Fett, that's when we want the collectibles to appear. And this will work for both options 1 and 2. This will be the same logic. So come over to the collectible tracker and select reset. Also, new logic connection, when Boba Fett is defeated, we need to come to our timer and start the time. And that will start our 45-second countdown. From the timer, new logic connection, when started, we want to activate this trigger area. And new logic connection when entered by player any. So the first player to slide through this trigger area down the slide rail, we'll come over here and do a reset and play on the path for which the escape skiff moves along. So reset and play, and it'll move up alongside the stationary skiff and stop, and give us our means of escape while the sail barge is exploding. I'll also come back to our 45-second timer here, new logic connection. When the timer is expired, we're going to remove all of the collectibles, meaning if you didn't complete it in the allotted time, you can't win. Also, new logic connection when the timer is expired, we'll also come over here and deactivate this trigger area, meaning that the escape skiff can't move alongside the stationary skiff. So once again, it's a failed game. One more time, new logic connection when the timer is expired. We'll also come over to this first replayer and select clear. That will also remove that slide rail between the plank and Jabba's sail barge here. So once again, if you haven't made it across to the stationary skiff by the time the timer expires, it's a failed challenge. Also here, when the target is hit to start the escape skip along its final path to escape the scene, we'll also come over here and do a clear on this replayer, just in case the player gets to the escape skiff before the timer expires. So if the timer expires first, it'll remove the slide rail. If you get to the escape skiff and shoot the target first, that will also remove the slide rail. That way it's not in view once the explosion sequence begins. So our challenge maker is connected to this logic gate for when the game is ended. So when the game is ended, we'll do a new logic connection on output, and we'll do our resets here. So the first thing we want to do is remove all. This would largely be for a failed game or if the player just ended the game in the middle of the challenge. New logic connection also on output for when the game is ended. We want to reset our 45-second timer. So we'll select reset. Alright, go ahead and perform a reset button here, and Luke will do a little demonstration. Jump up on our stationary skiff here, and we'll shoot our reset button again to play back for our slide rail. Shoot the target, extend the plank. We'll get our Nycto Thug here. This is always a lot of fun, knocking an enemy into the Sarlacc Pit, kind of the whole point of the game. So we slide across, we defeat our enemies on the upper and lower decks. We defeat Boba Fett, and we'll use our test button here to simulate that. So when Luke shoots the test button, our 45-second timer begins, and we get our 10 collectibles. All these collectibles are set to a height for a player who doesn't, or a character who doesn't have high or super jump or force jump capability. So that's what Luke's demonstrating here. He's not using his force jump capability, but a single or double jump is sufficient to get all these collectibles. And that's something you need to consider, because all characters, such as Chewbacca, doesn't have a high jump. The best he can do is a double jump. So that needs to be taken into consideration. So we set the explosives, slide across. We made it before the 45-second timer. Our escape skip comes up, and we shoot the target here and start our final explosion sequence with our 10 random explosions, and then the final destructive explosion as the escape skiff goes off screen. It's also always a lot of fun to see this final view. So go ahead and let this play out, and then we'll get into discussing our second option for shooting targets. Option 2 is for shooting targets. Alright, I've gone ahead and I've deleted all 10 of the collectibles that simulate the explosive devices. I'm going to go back into gameplay toys, and I'm going to use the gold armored orb here. You can use the blue or the green as well. And I'm going to place 10 of these as well. Here again, placement isn't that important. You can place them as you wish. And I'm going to place all 10 of these on the upper deck, so there'll be nothing on the lower deck. And place one here over that central point there again. That's 4. I'll put 3 of them here about the midpoint of the upper deck. Again, kind of adjusting their height. That's a total of 7, and then we'll put 3 more back here, and that'll be 10. Kind of representing, once again, our 10 random explosions. So to change the collectibles, the logic all remains the same. You can put any collectible you want to put in here. It's just a matter of, you can even, like I said, mix and match. You could have some targets to shoot. You could have some those tech devices to collect, simulating explosive devices or anything else you may want to use. So that's the nice thing about the collectible tracker. There's no logic that set up, or there's no individual logic connections for the collectibles or targets themselves. So Luke will shoot our reset button here. That will reset everything and remove the targets. And then we'll shoot our test button here. We'll start our 45-second timer. And we get our targets. The idea here is to use the cannons to be a little bit more faithful to Return of the Jedi. And the cannon on the stern was used to shoot into the deck of the Jabba's sail barge to destroy it. So it can't quite reach that one, so this placement means you have to use both of these cannons. So you can see the 45 seconds is still adequate for either method. Gives us enough time to slide across. It still provides a bit of a challenge, but it's a doable challenge. So we're going to go back here and we're going to re-demonstrate this again. And I'm going to show one of the weaknesses to using the targets and why I decided to stay with the collectibles. And that's because there's nothing that can force the player to use the AT-AT cannons. Go ahead and shoot the reset button here first, so we make sure we reset the timer. And then shoot our test button. So this is the part that I didn't care for. This is there's nothing that forces the player to use the AT-AT cannons. You can just run around and shoot them, shoot the targets, or even if you just jump into a target, it'll destroy it as well. So once again, I'll leave the option up to everyone, but that's the two options, collectibles or targets. This concludes my Battle at the Sarlacc Pit series. For those who have been watching the series or intend to create your own battle, thank you for your patience as I have worked my way through the development of this toy box and its associated videos. It's been a long and rewarding journey. I find this to be a highly enjoyable toy box, and I hope you will agree. There are infinite possibilities for using this toy box in a series of toy boxes that follows the story of Return of the Jedi or any Star Wars themed story that you may create. Let your imagination be your guide. As always, feel free to drop a comment below, and thank you for watching.